Chapter 1. The First Glance. The gym was alive with the rhythmic thud of volleyballs and the echo of laughter. It was a bustling hive of energy, a world that felt both chaotic and mesmerizing to Hannah. She wasn't supposed to be here. Her art teacher's assignment to find inspiration outside the classroom had led her to Nekoma High's gym, a place she'd never imagined herself visiting. Volleyball was an alien concept to her, but the movement, the camaraderie, and the pure dynamism of the game caught her attention immediately. She settled on the top row of the bleachers, sketchbook in hand, letting her pencil roam across the page. At first, she tried to capture the energy of the players, the sharp lines of their jumps, the force behind their spikes. But it wasn't until she saw him that her pencil truly came to life. Kuroo Tetsuro. Even among the chaos, he stood out. His presence was magnetic, commanding the court with ease. His sharp grin and messy black hair gave him an air of confident nonchalance, but there was something deeper in the way he moved, the way he encouraged his teammates. He wasn't just playing, he was leading, inspiring. And Hannah couldn't take her eyes off him. Her pencil started moving of its own accord, sketching his figure. The way his hair spiked upward as if defying gravity, the glint of mischief in his eyes, the way his body seemed to flow seamlessly between power and precision, it was captivating. She hadn't even realized how many pages she'd filled with his likeness until a stray whistle brought her back to reality. Practice was winding down, and she hurried to pack her things before anyone noticed her lingering. But she returned the next day. And the day after that. Something about the gym, about him, pulled her back. She told herself it was for her art. The gym was an endless source of inspiration, after all. The way the team worked together, the energy that filled the air, and, yes, Kuroo. Her sketchbook slowly began to fill with more detailed drawings of him. His expressions during a particularly heated rally, the way he stood with his arms crossed as he gave instructions, the rare moments when his smirk softened into something more thoughtful. She hadn't meant for it to become a habit, but it had. Hannah found herself looking forward to these afternoons, to the time she could spend in the quiet corner of the bleachers, pencil in hand, capturing fleeting moments of a world she didn't belong to but couldn't help but admire. It wasn't until the third week that she realized she'd been caught. The team's practice had just ended, and Hannah was engrossed in her sketchbook, adding the finishing touches to a drawing of Kuroo mid-spike. She didn't notice the sound of footsteps growing closer until a shadow fell over her. She froze, her heart pounding as she slowly looked up. Ooh was faster. Before she could stop him, he reached out and gently pried the sketchbook from her hands. Flipping it open, he scanned the pages, his eyes widening slightly as he took in her work. Wow, he said after a moment, his voice softer. This is really good. Hannah stared at him, unsure of what to say. Her heart was hammering in her chest, and she felt like she might melt under his gaze. You've been drawing us this whole time? He asked, glancing up at her. Or is it just me? That's a pretty good drawing, said a deep, teasing voice. Her breath caught. It was him, Kuroo Tetsuro, standing right in front of her, his golden brown eyes glinting with curiosity and amusement. Hannah stammered, snapping her sketchbook shut. Her face burned as she clutched it to her chest, suddenly feeling exposed. He tilted his head, his grin widening. Come on, let me see. I'm curious now. It's nothing, she blurted out, standing up so quickly she almost tripped over her bag. Her cheeks flamed. I mean, it's just practice, she mumbled, wishing the floor would swallow her whole. Kuroo's grin returned, wider and more mischievous than ever. Practice, huh? Well, I'm honored to be your muse. Though I've gotta say, you make me look way cooler than I actually am. That's not true, she blurted out before she could stop herself. Realizing what she'd said, she clamped her mouth shut, mortified. He chuckled, handing the sketchbook back to her. You've got talent, he said, his tone surprisingly earnest. Don't hide it. Hannah stared at him, her fingers tightening around the sketchbook. She opened her mouth to respond, but he was already walking away, tossing a casual wave over his shoulder. See you tomorrow, artist, he called out, leaving her standing there, heart racing and head spinning. And just like that, her quiet afternoons in the gym would never be the same.